CBS Sports coverage of the road to the Final Four. The NCAA basketball tournament rolls on. We are in the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina. Second round coverage today. Two teams will punch a ticket to Birmingham, Alabama for the Sweet 16. Tennessee, Chattanooga, and Illinois later today. First up, the ACC and the Big East will be featured. The Providence Friars against second-seeded Duke. Hello again, everyone. Tim Brando by my side, George Raveling. And you know, we begin today with a player that has had the best NCAA tournament that any player could ever hope for, Austin Crozier of Providence.
Well, I believe Austin Crozier is the Big East's most versatile player. He can score inside, he can score outside, and he's a killer on the foul line with that 87% shooting percentage. For Duke, he's a tough defensive matchup because the man that's assigned to Austin, he must be able to play both perimeter and post defense, and that's a difficult assignment.
Pete Gillen, the Dave Letterman look-alike, coming up with the top 10 reasons for moving to the Sweet 16. Now in his third season at Providence, we'll have this starting five. Derek Brown, a streak shooter that crashes the offensive glass. The aforementioned Crozier. Ruben Garces, who migrated from Panama to success in New England. Jamel Thomas, a slasher with a strong attitude. And God Shamgod with creativity with the basketball that at times is divine guidance. Mike Krzyzewski. No one has been more successful in the modern era. 2 national championships back-to-back in 91 and 92. His lineup looks this way. 3 guards and some new faces. Carrawell emerged in early February. McLeod, his first transfer ever in his program from St. John's. Langdon can take over a game. Capel, the only Devil to have experienced the Final Four. It happened in this building 3 years ago. And Wojciechowski with a better assist-to-turnover ratio than even Bobby Hurley. Our officials for today's game, Ed Hightower, Phil Bova, and Ted Hillary. That's the senior that they'll lean on for experience down the stretch today. The opening tip, Shamgod running the show for Providence. Right away, Wojciechowski's defense comes to the forefront.
Hey, Tim, I believe a major factor in this game will be officiating. Are they going to enforce the defensive hand-checking rule or not? If they don't, it could hurt the ability of the Providence guards to penetrate.
Carrawell gets a pick as well as a pass from McLeod. Capel keeping it alive on the offensive glass.
Duke will send all 5 players to the defensive glass.
McLeod. Pulled down by Brown. Duke will come at you in waves, but particularly early in halves, the defensive pressure very strong. And another offensive foul, this one against Shamgod.
There's a very aggressive physical defense being played by Steve Wojciechowski. I believe that personal fouls, made foul shots, and rebounding will dictate the outcome of this game.
Already a couple of turnovers committed by Providence. Duke's perimeter pressure always stronger in the opening moments of each half. Providence already experiencing that. Langdon off the curl. Trajan with the first points at Trey. Over a minute gone by here in the opening half. Thomas working crossover and a pull-up. Didn't throw iron. There's Brown, who told you is crashing of the glass on the offensive boards. He'll find a lane or two to give Providence second chance points. Crozier, excellent dump down into the arms of Jamel Thomas. And the sophomore from Brooklyn makes it a 3-2 game.
Coach K has tapped into an offensive formula that over the next 5 or 6 years will be the must-use offense, a 3-guard offense.
He took Newton out of the starting lineup. Duke went on a run of 8 straight ACC wins to a 12-4 record and the regular season title. Garces picking up that foul in the painted area. Ruben Garces, senior from Cologne, Panama. Pete Gillen, with a cultural melting pot on his roster, has dealt with much adversity this year, criticized by many, but making his run for the Big East and giving them an opportunity as a conference for a Sweet 16 member.
In conversations I had yesterday with the Providence coaching staff and with Austin Crozier, I think it's immensely important that this young man get off to a good start offensively. I think if he gets off to a good start, his self-talk will be, it's my day. If he doesn't, he'll say, it's going to be a long day. Duke showing a little full court man-to-man pressure. I think it's caught Providence by surprise. Let's see if they attack the score, attack the setup. Good transition defense by Duke.
Brown working past Langdon. Gets the help, though, from McLeod, and another turnover. That's 3 committed by Providence. We haven't played 3 minutes as yet. Langdon, the ball fake. Garces tips it into the hands of Brown. 4-on-2 for Providence. Nice look. Crozier on the receiving end.
That's what makes Providence such a difficult team to defend. All their players but Garces can play face up, and they can set the ball on the floor and create their own shot.
McLeod over Garces. Creating the contact and then nailing the runner. 7-4 Blue Devils. Brown, that's his spot. Too strong, cleared by Capel. Both offenses now beginning to show some fluidity after a troublesome start for the Friars. Wojo!
Any offense Duke receives from Wojo is a luxury.
22nd timeout. Clearly a home crowd here in Charlotte, North Carolina, considered really a Carolina city here in the Tar Heel State, but the Duke congregation very large on this Sunday afternoon. In the first round, these two teams, Providence against the top defense in field goal shooting percentage, Marquette, had an unbelievable offensive explosion. And of course, the Blue Devils taking off Murray State, a 15 seed that had some influence under head coach Mark Godfrey.
Draw the defense till you find the open man. Anytime you have 2 defenders or more on you, it means that 1 or more players are open on the court, and it becomes incumbent upon the ball handler to find the open man.
Shamgod trying to break down Wojciechowski. He has a tendency to get in the air and make decisions. You can bet Mike Krzyzewski's going to try to take advantage of that defensively as Thomas nails the tray. 9-7.
And what was interesting about that, he shot it off the wrong leg, but he had a good arch on the shot and a nice follow-through, and he shot it with confidence.
Boy, Chappelle gets in the game and immediately has impact. Mike Chappelle, the freshman from Southfield, Michigan, making it 11-7. Brown right into the double team, and he's fouled. Capel picking up the foul.
Nice hesitation dribble. What the hesitation dribble did, it brought the defender out of his stance and made it much easier for Mike Chappelle to beat him on a dribble.
Duke out to the early advantage.
He's our leader. You know, Austin's a great player, but he's not comfortable being a leader. He's just, you know, a worker. He plays. Sham has to be our leader. When he's focused, when he's concentrating, he's great. We just need him focused, you know, running the team. He's going to feel great pressure from Wojciechowski. When he plays, we're a very good team. When he has a bad game, we're not that good.
The communication skills between Gillen and Shamgod really the catalyst since the Big East tournament, and they've played very well with his leadership. And a very tough test for him today against the overplaying power of Steve Wojciechowski along the perimeter. Off the ball, Ed Hightower spotting a foul.
As Duke seeks to find proper defensive position. The physical nature of their defense is pronounced, and it puts them at risk for personal fouls.
Jason Murdoch just into the game, number 3 for Providence. There again, Wojciechowski getting his hand in there. That foul, by the way, was against Chappelle off the ball, his first.
Oh, here's a twist. Duke in a 2-3 zone. Mike Krzyzewski pulling out all of his defensive tricks.
Murdoch answers with a 3. Coach K always adaptable.
We've got a chess match going on. Providence goes with the 1-2-2 half-court press.
Ricky Price can't hit. Out of bounds to Duke. Taman Domzowski now in the game for Duke.
And here's that 2-3 zone. It really has big gaps in it because Duke is spread. It's almost like a matchup zone. And Providence, Shamgod finds the gap and penetrates. And anytime he penetrates, he thinks pass first.
They play it so rarely, George. Given Coach K's adaptability, you have to wonder how well Duke can play the zone.
Excellent analysis, Tim. I agree with you. I think he's just doing it as a change-up to make the game become a cerebral game for Shamgod.
Phil Bova again spotting a foul off the ball. Domzowski will pick it up. Taman had an excellent week of practice, the sophomore from Lovington, New Mexico.
And this is a wasted foul here. And it's not characteristic of Duke players. Duke's the type of team that rarely beats themselves with foolish mistakes, and that was a foolish mistake.
Murdoch, Thomas, Brown, Crozier, and Shamgod on the floor for Providence. There's the crease. Thomas, and the follow. The slasher that crashes the boards on the offensive glass. Brown, not a one-dimensional player. He can hit threes, but he can also do that.
And 2 possessions against the zone, and each time Providence has found the soft spot in the zone, and it's resulted in a good basket.
Langdon with the deflection, also a foul.
As the ball moves against the zone, what you're looking for are soft spots. In this particular case, it was against the Providence man-to-man. The Providence defenders stayed home, and as a result, Trajan Langdon was able to find a clear and unmolested path to the basket.
Crozier got in his way and picked up the foul. 3rd team foul for the Friars.
Trajan is struggling a little bit from the foul line and the field. He's 7 for 33 from the field in his last 4 games.
Had a remarkable performance at home against Clemson. After that, of course, the road loss to UCLA and the quick out in the ACC tournament. Did not perform well in either of those games. Thomas can't hit. Cleared to Chappelle.
What Duke does in transition defense out of that press is they really gather in the lane and force Providence to take the quick perimeter shot.
Chappelle, nice touch pass to McLeod.
Now let's watch the press develop. They took it off. They just slowed them down. What they want to do is keep the ball in front of them and make Providence walk into its offense.
Blue Devils by 5. Thomas trying to post up Langdon. Crozier, who's been passing of late, this time picks up the player control foul. His second. And that is very crucial to Pete Gillen's cause.
This is a difficult decision coming up for Pete Gillen as we see Crozier beat his man along the baseline. No question about the interpretation. The challenge for Pete Gillen is now, do you keep Austin Crozier in the game or do you take him out? It's 13:27 remaining on the clock, Tim.
This is not as deep a Providence team as Duke. We'll be back.
Drive you to our place and get
productivity of that Friar front line, but none more productive than Crozier, and losing him awfully important to their hopes, George.
And let us take a look at the accuracy of this official's call of an offensive foul. Let's watch number 21 here as Crozier makes his penetration move. He's going to start to come along the baseline. Langdon's going to take the charge, but watch Langdon slide over and move. His feet were not stationary. He's still moving. It was an incorrect interpretation.
And a call that will have a big impact the rest of this half for Pete Gillen. And any of the decision-making he has with his rotation. Price double team.
Nice corner trap. Uh-oh, they're in trouble.
Langdon continues to struggle from the perimeter.
And if he continues to struggle for the next 30 minutes, Duke is in trouble.
Corey Wright has come into the game. Similar lineup change by Pete Gillen as was the case against Marquette, going to a double point guard look. Shamdad has his pocket picked by Price.
I want to expand on why I said if Langdon's not hitting, Duke is in trouble. They're in a three-guard offense. If he's not hitting, Wojo's not a scorer. That means they have only one of the three guards who's a productive scorer.
Shamdad, a little out of control, and Pete Gillen's team has turned it over 6 times. We're not as yet 8 minutes deep here in the opening half.
Too often young point guards dribble themselves into mistakes, and that was a classic example right there. Providence needs a few more touches, a few more ball reverses, and a little less dribbling.
Blue Devils have not turned it over as yet. Wojo will pick up the player control foul.
Intelligent defense by Providence then. When Wojo goes to the basket, his mindset is pass first. Notice that the Providence players stay basically home and make him a shooter. Wojo's not going to beat you with this jump shot. He's going to beat you with his head and his emotions.
Nice high pick by Thomas, and Wright feeds Brown. He can't finish. Well-designed play without a finish for the Friars.
For a team with no player over 6'6", Duke is a very effective rebounding team.
Garces clears, right on the move. Great dump to Murdoch. Corey Wright with a tremendous pass. That ends the drought, and it's 19-14. That ended a 3-minute scoring drought for Providence. Extra step on the spin move by Price.
Corey Wright, as we're going to see on this play here, he has his head up. He has an understanding where his players are as they proceed to the basket, and he makes the right decision. This is the same man who, during the Big East tournament, left tickets for Little Steve, Little Herman, and Mama Dukes. I'm sure the ticket taker knew who they were.
Yeah. The question about Mama Dukes with Corey Wright, he calls her Mama Dukes because if he gets out of hand, she'll hit him with his dukes. She'll go after him. She made that statement to him very early in life, according to Corey. Out of bounds, it'll be controlled to Providence.
It reminds me of, look at this. Austin Crozier's back in the game. Pete Gillen, a Mississippi gambler. You're talking about Mama Dukes, reminds me of my mom. Some of the whippings that my mom gave me, under today's rules, she'd be doing 10 to 15 in Attica.
Foul spotted by Phil Bova inside. Wojciechowski picking up his second. Now, you do love your mom, though.
I love my mom, but I didn't love those whippings. But you know what, Tim? I deserved them.
5-point lead for the Blue Devils. Pete Gillen making the determination that Crozier needs to be on the floor. Wojciechowski now taking a seat with Capel, Langdon, McLeod, Price, and Carrawell on the floor. Far too strong for Jamal Thomas. Jeff Capel, son of Jeff Capel Sr., playing on the very floor that he was on as a freshman in the national championship loss to Arkansas.
For someone who hasn't seen Duke play this season, they might wonder why they take so many three-point shots. Well, you don't need a microscope to see that Duke is lacking in interior offensive presence.
Murdoch. Crozier on the offensive boards, double team. Boy, those hands are waving, and they're creating havoc for the Blue Devils. 3-on-2, Carrawell, and McLeod is fouled. Murdoch picking it up. Rebounding story even, but the Blue Devils are getting second chance points. The offensive board work of Duke better than the Friars early on, and that is important for the smallish Duke team.
Providence is careless in their protection of the basketball. When you're playing a physical defensive team, you want to bring that ball in close to the body with a tight grip on it. Too many Providence players are allowing that ball to ride away from their bodies and expose it to the defense.
McLeod, St. Anthony's High School, Jersey City, New Jersey, felt that his game was one-dimensional at St. John's. They wanted him a bit more with his back to the basket. He wanted to be a free-flowing player with the opportunity to use his versatility, and Mike Krzyzewski giving him that chance, a first-ever opportunity for a transfer in Durham, North Carolina under Coach K. That again shows you the adaptability of Mike, both on and off the floor with his program. Going to a zone today on the floor and having a transfer come to Durham this season.
A nun once told me that it's a wise man who changes before he has to change.
Garces can't finish, but does draw the contact. Langdon picking up the foul. Other games coming up today on this event-filled weekend on CBS Sports. Louisville, New Mexico, Tulsa, and Clemson. Should be an outstanding match. UNC Charlotte against Utah, and Tennessee, Chattanooga. Mac McCarthy's club against the Fighting Illini. We'll see Kewan Garris for the 6th-seeded Illinois club.
And if we race back to the Marquette game, we remember that Providence was in a little bit of an offensive funk, and Pete Gillen went with the two-point guard offense, and all of a sudden it energized their basketball team, and we at 9:52 have arrived at the juncture where Pete's going with his two-point guard offense.
He may be known for one-liners, but he's got more than just a decision or two that he can make through the course of the game. And he's been very successful, particularly of late with this ball club, as Chappelle gets an easy one, carving up the Providence pressure, and the lead, its largest, up to 8 for the Blue Devils.
When teams full-court pressure, you have two decisions that you want to make. Do we attack it to score, or do we attack it to set up? Duke attacks to score.
Garces trying to use the glass for a jump hook, and Wright picks up the blocking foul, his first.
I think that this is a good idea for Pete Gillen, going with the two-point guard offense. It takes some of the decision-making process out of the hands of Shamgad. It also gives them another thinker on the floor as they attack the press.
Garces now leading the game. Brown coming back on the floor, joined by Jamel Thomas, Crozier, and the two-point guards, both Shamgad and Wright. Providence has made only one of its last 7 from the floor. Langdon driving baseline. Short-armed it. Crozier trying to fight for it. Out of bounds. Off of Langdon.
You look out on the floor at the 5 players Duke have on the floor, and they don't look like they're physically strong, but they play like they're physically strong, and that might be more important.
Sometimes in the college game, if you're quicker to the ball, you can get a lot of rebounds. And so far, they've had the better of it on the offensive glass, getting second chance points and outscoring Providence in that category. Crozier using his body and drawing the contact from McLeod. Look at this defense.
Nice hedging on the post, good switching. It shows you how familiar the Duke players are with each other. There wasn't any verbal communication defensively, but from a cerebral standpoint, they knew what to do as they handled that high post screen. Providence has 7 turnovers so far in the game. I always had a little formula for turnovers that for every turnover your offense commits, your defense must create 2 additional turnovers to put you at a plus factor.
Crozier makes it a 6-point game. Blue Devils have 9 second chance points. Only 4 for Providence. Langdon looking for a second field goal. The iron kind to Trajan that time, and he has 7, 25-17. Brown goes reversal.
For a team that shot 34 3-point attempts against Carolina, Duke has nice balance in its offense.
And over and back by Chappelle. Quality pressure from Crozier, particularly given the foul difficulty that he's playing under. Just the 3rd turnover created as Gillen's team playing with its head defensively. A front line story, though, belonging to Duke. We mentioned earlier the second chance points. Smallish, but very quick to a loose ball.
It's not how tall you are, it's how high you play.
Crozier over McLeod. Brown gets the garbage hoop.
He's an excellent offensive rebounder, particularly coming from the weak side of the floor. Most putbacks and offensive tip-ins occur when the player comes from the weak side of the floor to get the ball.
Crozier clears. Shamgod out to Brown. He's taking over. Count it, and a foul.
The silent assassin. He comes after you. I call him the silent assassin, and he doesn't even wear a mask. This is the most underrated player on the Providence team. In fact, Pete Gillen told me yesterday he's our MVP.
Junior college player of the year. Back in 1995, he now has 9 points and 6 boards, and Pete putting those hands together.
A tradition unlike any other.
Winston-Salem in Charlotte. She's the 3rd member of our broadcast crew. Andrea?
Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski has been concerned about his team's mental state here during the tournament. They want to win so badly. He's concerned that that may be making them a little bit tight. So the Duke coaching staff has made a concerted effort to keep things as low-key and positive as possible. They've loosened up the schedule. There was no team meeting last night. Assistant coach Tommy Amaker told me they also expect playing early will help. The kids aren't sitting around all day just thinking about the game. We'll see how they do now that Providence has got things close. Back to you guys.
You're right, Andrea, and the mental aspect of coaching is a real specialty for Coach King.
And if I could piggyback on what Andrea said, this week in practice, as Mike tried to relax the team, he played rap music. Now, Tim, I'm telling you, Mike doesn't know the first thing about rapping now.
Growing up in Chicago in that Polish family of his, I'm sure he didn't hear much of that. Boom, shake the room. As Derek Brown gets it done. Polkas may be a different story, however.
I don't think there's too much rap music around the Krzyzewski house.
No, not at all. 27-25. Providence now taking control. This is a 13-4 run for them after being silenced for 3 minutes.
We're watching 2 really well-coached teams.
McLeod off the window. Crozier can't clear, but Jamel Thomas does. Numbers, but Wojciechowski behind him. The trailer is Crozier. Capel clears.
Now, the mental challenge starts for Austin Crozier.
Harrell. Thomas bringing it down.
What is the self-talk of Austin Crozier? Is he saying I can still make them, or is he saying it's not my day?
Turnover by Providence, an extra step.
And the reason I say that is because Austin Crozier is 1 for 4 and 0 for 3 from behind the three-point line.
But you have to understand that second foul and sitting for a few moments and coming in, he has to be cognizant of that, and that does take some of the freedom out of your game, doesn't it?
Yeah, as a coach, you want to get him to the side and free his mind up and tell him, keep shooting the basketball. The only time I'm going to be mad at you is if you stop shooting the basketball.
Shamgod picking up this foul.
It's a typical Eastern defensive maneuver, reaching behind. I think they invented that reach behind in Philadelphia back in the early, late 50s and the early 60s when I played. I wasn't much of a defensive player. I used to reach around like that. I have to admit it.
She had a nice wingspan to do it with. Look at Duke on the bench. So effective the other night in that win against Murray State. They really needed them to step up, and they did. Providence has gone to its bench and found some success from Corey Wright and Jason Murdoch.
Wojo and Shamgod played against each other in high school, so this is not the first time that Wojo has guarded Shamgod.
First tie that we have had today at 27. Under 6 minutes remaining here in the opening half. Southeast Regional second round. Tim Brando along with George Raveling. Crozier. That may get the confidence back. He has 6. You know Langdon's trying to shake the cobwebs from his offensive game. Speaking of confidence, he's been lacking it from the perimeter. Extra step by Capel. And he turns it over. He likes being down here, Crozier, doesn't he?
Yes, I talked to him yesterday and I asked him, where would you rather play offensively, inside or outside? And he said he would rather play inside. That's his comfort zone.
He was recruited but not signed by UConn, then turned down by Notre Dame, and Providence picked him up. And he's very happy to be there. The offensive boards, and the Friars on a run.
And it all started when Pete Gillen went to the two-guard offense. Nice looking shot, fundamentally sound. It went in the cylinder, it just didn't go in.
Duke, a small team, not a dominant team, as Coach K has mentioned many times. That's what he gives up by virtue of going small, are the opportunities for taller, slashing types of players like Brown, and in that case, Jamel Thomas, to get those putbacks.
And when you go with the three-guard offense and not a strong interior presence, it presents a nagging question for the Duke basketball fans. Can our Blue Devil team get to the Final Four shooting threes and playing a three-guard offense? We'll find out.
Wojciechowski ending the drought. Duke had turned it over 5 times in the last 4.5 minutes prior to that deuce, and that ended a 14-2 run, that 3 by Wojo.
If you're Pete Gillen, you don't get upset about that. Wojo's not going to beat you with his jump shot.
Crozier traveled that time. It'll go the other way. Talk about intensity. Has Coach K lost it through the years? I think not.
Holy God, Mike is wired. I think Mike wants to get back to the Final Four. But the Providence Friars will have something to say about that.
McLeod trying to ball fake Crozier. That's a good job of defense, George, playing with 2 fouls in the first half.
What was impressive about Crozier's defense was his mental discipline. As we watch him defend him, number one, he moves his feet, he does not reach, and as he goes up, Crozier keeps his feet, puts his arm into the shooting pocket and interrupts the shot.
Wright, Murdoch, Shamgod, Brown, and Crozier on the floor for Providence.
Providence has got to move the ball, get him.
And And a foul against McLeod. Crozier creating the contact. He has plenty of energy. This is a young man that's got quickness that perhaps is overlooked at times because of his shooting skills, both in face-up and post-up situations.
Duke, being the aggressive defensive team that it is, tend to allow its aggressiveness to go to extremes, and we saw it there with the reach-in foul. What happens with Providence is that too often when the ball goes to the wing, it's put on the floor and the other 4 players stand and watch. They need to share the ball a little bit more.
2 on McLeod. Crozier, 15 for 15 free throws on Friday. That ranks him 3rd in NCAA tournament history behind Bill Bradley and Finis Dimbo. He has 19 straight overall in the tournament. Providence is shooting 50% as you look at our game summary. Turnovers, a problem for Providence early. They've now overcome that and have turned the tables. Along with George Raveling, Tim Brando, and a very entertaining game. The coaches really earning their pay today.
Well, and they're very creative in their defensive approach, particularly. They're showing zone, they've shown full court pressure, they've shown half court traps. There cannot be much more left in either team's defensive arsenal.
Capel, in his last 4 games, he's been averaging 18.8, including the 25 against Murray State.
And that jump shot was as pure as Caesar's wife.
Brown floating up high. You will not get the baseline from Duke. And a push against Providence. That one against Corey Wright. This has been a game of runs, both Providence and Duke, with quick spurts. Duke's coming early. Providence is in the last 8 minutes of the game. Crozier able to offset 2 early fouls and still be productive at both ends of the floor.
As this game continues to unfold, it's going to be incumbent upon the Providence players to mentally discipline themselves not to react to the physical nature of Duke's defense.
Nate James can't hit, but there's McLeod on the glass, stripped by Shamgod. Brown. That's the pass generally that's taken away by Duke. That pass to the wing. Coach K generally does not allow that. Certainly Brown taking advantage. He has 15. Langdon finally breaking the schneid. His second field goal. We're tied at 36. Shamgod.
Force shot.
Wojciechowski comes away with it.
Classic case of point guard dribbling himself into trouble.
Capel running the curl. And getting the foul inside. Derek Brown picking it up. Well, what a performance by Derek Brown. You talk about nicknames. He's got a cousin that he plays with on the Blacktops called Tick Tick Boom. They've got unbelievable, and that of course comes from the motion picture and the rap music that we mentioned earlier. And the tick tick comes on the 3-point shot. He calls his 3-point shot tick tick, and then I release it and it's boom. And he has been throwing up some bombs of his own today with 15 points.
Well, if you grow up in urban America and you played a hoop game, if you've got any game, you've got a nickname.
Pete Gillen has certainly had his share of one-liners, most of them printed in the newspaper. He was talking about Duke and that jersey. He said they've got 8 parade All-Americans and McDonald All-Americans. We've got McDonald's in common. We eat our pregame meals there. 38-36 Blue Devils. Their first lead since 25-24, 5 minutes ago.
Corey Wright went into a jet propulsion level of speed and beat by Steve Wojciechowski and took it to the hole like he wanted to do something nasty to those Duke players from I Am Smart U.
And McLeod picked up his third in so doing. Roshan will be forced to sit. Carawell comes into the game, so the first player for either team to pick up a third foul. Murdoch checks in. Crozier coming out. What about that I Am Smart U?
Dude, there's a lot of answers on that campus.
You betcha.
You know, offense is really a simple process. I think players and coaches make it more complicated. The object of offense is simple. It's to get a good shot and to make that shot. Everything else after that, Tim, is window dressing.
Wright ties the game with 2:13 to play. Crozier's had some answers himself in this NCAA tournament. Right now, sitting is Pete Gillen, trying to make certain that he does not pick up a third, as Roshan McLeod did just a moment ago. Capel into Carawell. Well, he got an excellent entry pass, but just could not handle it. But bailed out by the foul of Ruben Garces. I think he was thinking shoot first here.
We talk about the physical nature of Duke's defense, but Providence is playing equally hard and equally physical.
Well, George, he could have turned right around without putting that one on the deck. He decided to put it on the floor, and once he did, he was in trouble.
Well, I think that what happened was he had a little assist from one of the Providence players on putting it on the floor. It was a two-hand dribble. One hand by a Duke player and one hand by a Providence player.
Crozier returning, offensive for defensive substitutions. This is the second time we've seen Pete do this. He believes that Crozier is wise enough not to commit the offensive foul, but will get him out if there's a dead ball on the other end.
Tell me that's not a major gamble, bringing him back in with 2 minutes and you're down 2. This could have an impact on the game. I hope Austin's mentally disciplined enough to stay away from a foul.
Wright cannot pierce the double team. Carawell. And the Duke pressure causing Corey Wright a third foul. And now Shamgod will have to come back in. There's that pressure.
Yeah. If we had a little wider angle of that, what you'd see is Crozier and Brown ran away from the ball, and Corey Wright only had 2 outlets, and they were both covered. If Crozier and Brown had came back to the ball, they could have beat the press. Okay, let's take another look at it. Okay, now look down in here. There's Crozier there. There's Brown there. They're going away from the ball, and he doesn't have enough outlets.
Somebody's got to help the guard come back to the ball. You're right. More pressure and a tie ball for Duke. Well, they began with a flurry, and they're finishing with one. A 20-second timeout by Pete Gillen to stem the tide and do a little damage control, as you see Mike Krzyzewski's wife, Nikki.
As we talk about this last inbounds play, if we get a replay, I want you to focus on the player from Providence taking the ball out of bounds. Duke has scored, and he does not run the baseline. And so he has a bad angle to inbound the ball, and it allows Duke to get in tighter on the baseline. The inbound passer for Providence must run the baseline.
42-38. Ebb and flow of this game very streaky, as both of these teams offensively have an opportunity to bust out at any moment. Wojo, not there, cleared to Jason Murdoch. Crozier working it on Carawell. Brown again, picking it up. What a marvelous performance for Derek Brown. 17 of the 40 points for Providence belonging to him.
And once again, Brown comes from the weak side of the floor to get the offensive putback. You say, well, how is he doing it? Well, what happens is when the shot goes up, the weak side of the defense does not come back to a blockout position.
No help for Brown as Carawell takes it to the baseline.
And Duke takes the press off.
44-40, under a minute remaining opening half. Crozier for three. Again an offensive board. Thomas. Brown jumped a bit too soon, and it rolls off to the Blue Devils.
From this point on, it's the point guard's job is to manage the clock. Wojo must see beyond the obvious and find Duke a scoring opportunity.
Of the 1-4 set. You see the shot clock in the left-hand portion of your screen. Capo loses his dribble. Now numbers. Brown leading a 3-on-1 to Murdoch. Crozier follows. Oh!
What a basketball game we have on our hands here.
Capo trying to close out the half. End to end in the opening half in the Queen City. 46-42 our halftime score. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message. Second round coverage of the Southeast region here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Duke Blue Devils up by 4 at halftime. There are the leading scorers, and Derek Brown really having a tremendous first half. And George Raveling, somehow, some way, Duke must find a way to solve the dilemma of Derek Brown.
Well, what good offensive rebounders quickly learn is the best place to be when the shot goes up is on the weak side of the floor. Here we find Derek Brown on the weak side of the floor as the shot goes up. And we will see why it's so easy for him to get this uncontested putback. Now, Crozier's going to put it on the floor. There he goes. He draws the defense to him. No one blocked Derek Brown out, and he gets the easy shot. Now we're going to see what an opportunistic player Brown is. He starts his cut, he delays, he reads the defense. His defender gets caught coming over top. He spots up for the easy J, and it's in. And he does it all in a robotic manner.
Let's go to Andrea Joyce. Andrea?
All right, guys, as George just mentioned, rebounding will be key in the second half. Duke will try to keep Providence off the boards, limit their second chances. They also want to do a better job handling the Friars' pressure. They feel that they got a little bit rattled in the first half. Providence, meantime, will concentrate on spreading out the defense to limit Duke's three-point opportunities. Back to you, Tim.
One might think that Austin Crozier can get into it more, the flow of this game, but right away, Duke picking up a turnover and a foul against Shamgod, and that would be his third foul. So an early problem with foul difficulty for Pete Gillen to deal with, but not from Crozier, from Shamgod. And you heard from Pete earlier today, everything begins with verbal floor leadership with Sham. He refers to the divine name of God, Shamgod, as simply Sham. 13 turnovers now committed by the Friars. It's been a game of runs. Providence had a 14-2 spurt. Duke with a couple of 6-0 runs in the first half, and really closed with the flurry. You know, coaches will always tell you how you play the last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second, usually indicative of the way the game will go.
Most times that is a true indicator.
This time Shamgod does run the baseline to get the pass in play. Trapped right away. Langdon the pick. Taken back, though, by Jamel Thomas. Crozier. Again, an offensive rebound, this time Garces. And Pete Gillen calls for some motion in his offense. Shamgod.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
That's some motion. Taken right to the rack. His first basket. 48-44.
And here's Providence in a 1-2-2 half-court trap. They're going to trap Wojo. When they do, they trap him with 2 6'4" guards, and it's tough for Wojo to see over top of the trap.
Off a double baseline pick. Langdon. Trajan with 13.
one of the few set plays you'll see Duke run. They run out of a stack, and once they make the first pass, they get into motion.
Shamgod trying to use the pick of Garces, but to no avail. Crozier now gets it back into Sham's hands. And Crozier gets it back. Count it, and a foul. Boy, the free-flowing play of both Shamgod and Crozier, a true illustration of it right there.
And also a true illustration of how dangerous Shamgod is. If you let him in the paint, 9 out of 10 times he'll make the right decision and find the open man.
We touched on Crozier's ability at the free throw line. He made 80 of 81. His last 80 of 81 free throws. He had 23 in a row total before that miss.
What has happened to the game of basketball is when the hand-checking rule was put into play and enforced, it made it much easier for the offensive ball handler to get to the basket. The only way you can slow the quick player down today, Tim, is to hand check them.
And Crozier now has his third. So both he and Shamgod playing with 3 fouls, adding to the stress level of head coach Pete Gillen here in the second half.
I would fully anticipate that Pete Gillen will switch to zone. He must protect Shamgod and Crozier from foul trouble. There's 18 to go in the second half. He's going to have to take a little pressure off his defense. Now, let's take a look at how close to the baseline Duke forces Providence to inbound the ball.
Nearly another pick. This equals, by the way, the largest lead of the afternoon for Duke, 53-46. Crozier saw a double team early, then it floated away. Here's Corey Wright for 3. Now Capel.
Duke is winning this game because of its sterling defense, not so much its offense. It's really forced Providence into difficult shots and difficult decisions.
Shamgod runs it down, out-leaping Capel. Numbers 4-on-2 for Sham. Corey Wright. Brown fouled by McLeod. That may be his 4th. Floor not as balanced this time for Duke on that 4-on-1 breakaway, or 4-on-2.
Throughout most of the game, Duke has had good balance in its transition defense, but you can see one player falls to the floor. Wojciechowski trips over him, and it gives Providence an advantage as they go to the basket. But McLeod was back quickly and hustling and trying to make Providence take a difficult shot.
One of the luxuries for Coach K, George, is that when he loses a McLeod, he can bring in an equally athletic Mike Chappelle. They may be short on total height and bulk down low, but this is a team that has a bevy of wing players that can run the floor.
No question about it. Reaching fouls time and time again in the game of basketball result in gift points for the offense. And this is what Derek Brown's getting right now, gift points.
53-48. Wrapped nicely for Derek Brown, 19 points. Nice look inside to Chappelle, but he can't finish. Capel really had to arc that pass high towards the glass. Shamgod going crossover. Again in the air finds Corey Wright, who deals to Brown. Derek Brown gets hammered again.
If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Derek Brown misses the easy putback, the receiving, the nice penetration pass from Corey Wright. He gets it back again. He stays in there. 1 effort, 2 effort, 3 effort.
Wojciechowski picking up his 3rd foul, and he says, that's on me. I should have finished. But Corey Wright and Shamgod, never did we see a play that exemplified having the two guards in the lineup any better than that one. Those passes allowing an easy opportunity for Derek Brown.
Corey Wright and Shamgod have the outstanding ability to totally distort defensive play. What's interesting about this young man at the line, Tim, he was not recruited out of high school at all. Derek Brown.
Brooklyn, New York.
A diamond in the rough.
Grady City College. Making his way to Providence in the Big East. And a shooter's touch there. 53-50. Wojo pushing it up to Capel. Chappelle. Oh, the iron unkind to Chappelle. It touched all of the rim.
This is a very important possession for Providence. A basket here, and
Crozier into a double team, picking up his fourth. Remember that play. That could spell the difference.
And what happens to Providence now is Crozier going to the bench doesn't hurt Providence as much offensively as it does from the rebounding perspective. He was controlling the boards for Providence.
It's all about help, and plenty of it that time for Duke. The other half of our bracket here in the Southeast region. These two teams have advanced. Kansas and Arizona. Difficult road for the Wildcats coming from behind against both South Alabama and the College of Charleston. The Jayhawks had a tough take with Purdue yesterday. And these two teams today trying to join that bracket in Birmingham, Alabama.
With 16-14 left on the clock, Tim, Pete Gillen has no choice but to surrender and take Austin Crozier out of the game. And I think it'll have an adverse effect on their performance.
Well, mark it down. How well they perform from the 16-10 mark. While Crozier sits, he's likely to sit in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 minutes, one would think.
At least that much.
Murdoch has come into the game. Chappelle, pass, Shamgod, count it, and a foul. Murdoch picks up the foul. That's his second.
There's a nice move by Chappelle. And what set that move up was the shot fake. He lifted the defensive player off of his feet, put the ball down, and squirted by him for the easy shot. Nice implementation of the shot fake to set his move up.
Young man that got to know Grant Hill because of his Michigan roots. And Grant was a key reason in the recruitment success of Mike Chappelle as Jamel Thomas comes back the other way to get his 10th point. 55-53. Price giving it up to Chappelle. Over the backboard, so the ball will go the other way. 15:23 to play, opening half. Crozier sits while the others try to get it done. Carolina, son of CBS Sports coverage of the road to the Final Four, round 2. Foul difficulty, a real problem for the Providence Friars here in the second half. Crozier with 4, Shamgod and Wright, the 2 points on the floor simultaneously, each with 3. McLeod has 4, Wojciechowski 3. So it's going to be a game of attrition the rest of the way.
And the foul trouble that Providence has occurred is going to force Pete Gillen to make some difficult decisions. What do I do defensively? How do I protect my players as the fouls begin to mount?
Murdoch had plenty of room, and Jason gets his 8th point. 56-55. Providence's first lead since 36-33. with 3 minutes remaining in the opening half. Wojo in traffic, giving it up. Capel a pull-up. Harrowell. And a foul inside. Again, Providence will be whistled.
As you watch Duke's offensive attack, a principal portion of the offensive attack is to attack Shamgard with the dribble. Mike Krzyzewski desperately wants to get an early fourth foul on Shamgard with the clock sitting around 14:37.
That would take the two biggest wheels out of the Providence offensive arsenal. And the timeout forced by the Providence defense. Langdon taking the 20. Mike Krzyzewski trying to wheel his way into the Sweet 16, as are these teams. Louisville, New Mexico, Tulsa, and Clemson. Rick Barnes coming away with his first NCAA first-round win as a head coach, the former coach of Providence, now with the Tigers of the ACC, UNC Charlotte, Utah, and Tennessee Chattanooga. This is Illinois, and you know, these are all big games for not only the teams but the coaches, and Pete Gillen trying to get his second tournament win.
Well, in this Utah game, awfully difficult matchups with UNC Charlotte, trying to match up on Keith Van Horn and Mike Doliak. It might require a little bit of a zone defense by UNC Charlotte.
Harrowell really wanted it against Shamgard. Capel didn't give it to him, and he can't finish. Brown claims another rebound. That's his 7th of the afternoon. Shamgard finds the lane. Boy, Price. What a big-time offside play.
Tim, he's playing like Charles Atlas under the basket. I mean, Derek Brown is, he's just huge. The only thing missing from Derek Brown right now is an S on his chest and a cape.
That's amazing. You know, Price actually deflected that drive to the basket, but Brown was there for the answer.
I don't know when's the last time I've seen a more opportunistic player than Derek Brown. Oh, did you see the physical swinging of the elbows?
His cousin may be known as Tick Tick Boom, but today he has been an atomic bomb to the Duke defense. They really had problems with him. Now Thomas on the offensive glass. It's infectious. Now everyone's picking it up with Crozier saddled with 4 fouls.
At the top of the show, we said that we thought this game the outcome would be dictated by personal fouls, foul shooting, and rebounding, and nothing has changed our mind about that analysis.
6 minutes deep into this game, the second half, and the Providence Friars making it happen on the offensive glass.
No violation! Come on, we got 3 violations! No violation! Hands up, baby!
Thomas knocks it down. .55 our score. McLeod looking down low. Into that double team, and he draws the contact. Jason Murdoch picks up the foul, his 3rd. And McLeod at the free throw line. McLeod getting one of them. Well, LaShawn McLeod can't hit the second. Pulled down by Murdoch. Thomas gets McLeod airborne. Jamel Thomas now helping Providence in this 11-1 run. And the lead now up to 5. Jamel has 13.
And Providence is making this run by playing outstanding half-court defense. All runs start with good defense.
Price. Fouled by Derek Brown. For those of you that just joined us, in a game of runs, Providence in the midst of one without their top performer offensively in this NCAA tournament, Austin Crozier, saddled with 4 fouls. He has been picked up by both Derek Brown and Jamel Thomas. Not quite 7 minutes deep here in the second half. Since Crozier left the game, Mike Krzyzewski's seen his team give up an 11-3 spurt. Crozier sat down with 16:40 remaining in the game. And in the 3:40 since, the Friars have taken control. 61-57. Shamgad looking for cutters on the baseline. Corey Wright with the ball fake. Brown, that's his spot. This time off the back rim. A rare miss for Derek. Wojciechowski makes the save. Still an amazing run given Crozier's inability to get in the game. Brown 8 for 12, 23 points. Derek Brown doing more than he can to elevate the Providence level. Price rejected by Brown and then fouled on the second opportunity. Jason Murdoch picks up his 4th, so yet another Friar in foul difficulty. Back to the free throw line. Junior from Carson, California. Duke had done such an outstanding job at the free throw line. You see Tommy Amaker and Quinn Snyder, 2 former point guards for Coach K. Still very much a vital part of their program. Tommy Amaker's name continuing to pop up with potential head coaching opportunities, and there are many of them right now at Division I college basketball. 61-58.
The real challenge for Pete Gillen and the Providence Friars right now is, can they survive the personal foul trouble that they're in?
Wright staying airborne. Getting contact again. 22 seconds on the shot clock. Providence will have it underneath their own hoop.
And the Providence guards continue to break the defense down with penetration. Like myself, Mike Krzyzewski realizes that the 2 Providence guards drive like Miss Daisy.
I love taking a stroll with you. Shamgad going to his left. Turning back the other way. Very few players could do that. And Brown picks up the foul. That's his 3rd. So Derek Brown with 3. Shamgad playing with 3.
And he almost picks up his 4th. Let's watch as he penetrates. He's going to take an ill-advised shot. He had no choice because he had no place to go with the ball. He turns, he forces up a shot. But let's watch his reaction as he goes for the rebound. Look, he put himself at risk for a 4th foul as he reached over top to try to get a rebound.
Pete Gillen's club doing all it can to hang while Crozier sits, and now the foul difficulty far more than just Austin Crozier. Shamgod playing with 3. We mentioned earlier Murdoch having picked up another foul. So it's a mix master. Murdoch playing with 4. And that's really Pete's option, going small and bringing Murdoch into the game. Corey Wright also has 3. So the chess match continues for the optimist that is Peter Gillen. Of the 1997 road to the Final Four includes Austin Crozier. 39 points, the most scored by a player. Ewan Garris will be on display later today against Tennessee Chattanooga. He has been outstanding and is sure to throw a few Sunday dishes our way in game number 2. With George Raveling, Tim Brando, happy to be with you from Charlotte, North Carolina. Providence, a team that generally only plays 7. Really having to exhaust all of its options from the bench today due to foul problems. And Austin Crozier out of the timeout on the floor with 11 and a half to play. Thomas gets the roll. 15 for Jamel Thomas.
Well, I'm not sure if it's legal to gamble in the state of North Carolina or not, but Pete Gillen is playing a high-stakes form of gambling, Tim.
Shamgod in the air to Brown. Sham with a beautiful pass. He makes so many of them in the air, an area where most coaches are concerned when a guard puts himself off the floor into what is known as no man's land. He seemingly always has an answer. 7 assists for him. God, Shamgod.
As we sit here, Derek Brown is turning the Charlotte Coliseum into his personal playground.
McLeod off a nice dish with the shot clock winding down. Roshan has 15, and he, by the way, playing with 4 for the Blue Devils. 65-62. Shamgod stop and go and deliver.
And what set that move up was the hesitation dribble. When he hesitated, he brought the defensive man out of his stance. As soon as he started to rise, Shamgod put his ball down and went.
Capel. Yes, and a foul. One tremendous play after another by the guards of these two teams.
Here's a penetration move by Shamgod. He brings 2 players to him, and as soon as he saw the 2 players come to him, he immediately had the presence of mind to know where the open man is. Here he just blows by McLeod. He knows McLeod's in foul trouble, and McLeod's at his mercy.
Capel's first points of the second half. 67-65. Game beginning to settle down at crunch time into half-court defensive sets.
And this Duke crowd is on its feet.
Oh, what an answer.
And on that last possession, Duke went to a 2-3 zone to protect themselves against foul trouble.
You could sense the Blue Devil faithful felt that was an important possession, and Providence won out. Price can't come up with it. Derek Brown playing with a tremendous sense of purpose. Turns it over this time. He has 10 rebounds in this game, does Derek Brown. Now Chappelle will come back into the game, and Ricky Price will take a seat. This is an emotional Providence team, playing not only with great emotion today, George, but playing smart, understanding the foul problems that they have.
Talked to the Providence radio announcer, and he told me the last game was the best game they had played all season long, and they're building on that, Tim.
McLeod may have just fouled out. That's his 5th. He went up the back.
And with his exit goes Duke's major rebounder. Shot goes up. Austin Crozier blocks him out. He reaches over top. I did not see a foul on that particular play, but the official did, and that's a heck of a lot more important than me seeing it.
15 points and 5 rebounds for McLeod as he's forced to exit. Seriously reducing the options for Coach K. We touched on Crozier and Shamgod, but for Coach K, so few answers at 6'8" or taller for his team.
Let's see if we can detect the foul. Maybe he was calling the arm up on Crozier's back.
Yeah.
That's the only thing it could have been.
The push actually before Rashawn was airborne.
It's an old rattling move. I used to use that in the playgrounds.
Carrawell has come in for him, Chris Carrawell. 9+ minutes remaining. Friars up by 5. Off the ball, trying to free himself. Now has it quickly doubled. Corey Wright floats to the lane. Off the glass. Oh, he has 4. And these possessions get even bigger as the Providence lead grows larger.
The storyline here for Providence is their 2-point guard offense.
Wojciechowski. Coach K wanted a foul that time. It wasn't coming from Ed Hightower. Shamgod out of bounds. Last touched by Carrawell. Mike Krzyzewski really working Ed Hightower over.
Shamgod is almost an impossible player to defense, and the same will hold true for Corey Wright as he goes in and he uses good body language to hold himself in the air as the defender goes by and he drops it in the cylinder.
Shamgod into the double team. Wojciechowski comes away with it to Langdon. Capel for 3. The senior who's been winning a comeback award from the student body at Cameron Indoor all season long just made a critical trifecta.
What Providence needs to do now is make 4 or 5 passes on offense and rest on offense. This team's beginning to tire. They need to rest on offense.
Shot clock at 10. Corey Wright will spread the floor. Over Wojo. Run down by Duke. Wojciechowski coming back the other way. Capel wants it. That's why. He's taking over, and here come the Duke faithful.
A tradition unlike any other.
He sees that he has Austin Crozier on him. He takes him to the hole, and he makes him make a difficult decision. Are you going to let me score, or are you going to commit your 5th foul?
72-70. Pete Gillen taking his own timeout when on the next dead ball he would have had a TV timeout. Crozier knocks it down. He has 17. Pete's defense obviously would be Duke was in the midst of a run. He wanted to get the crowd out of the game. Capel, a leaner. Seniors never want to play their final game this early in March. And Capel is proof of that today. Taking over again, just as he did in the early portion of the second half against Murray State on Friday night. A reach-in foul against Wojciechowski.
What happens on this particular play is Providence forces a mismatch as Shamgar was smart enough to go wide and force Capel to play him, and that placed Wojo on a 6'9" player. And because of the aggressive nature he plays defense, he fouled him.
Capel leaning in. Boy, both driving to the basket as well as pulling up. He's getting it done. Now Wojo, having picked up his 4th, now has to sit with Coach K.
And Duke is taking the ball to the basket and exploiting the fact that Austin Crozier has 4 because he's their basket protector.
Boy, Brown kept it alive again. Off of Providence. And the Friars can't believe it. And I think Brown had a point. I think it may have deflected off Duke. They are livid over there. 6:19 and counting. One thing's for certain, foul trouble has not stymied the ebb and flow of this game, George. I mean, it's just as exciting now as it was early. Langdon. Crozier brings it down.
You make an excellent point, Tim, because time and time again in a game that's marred with a lot of fouls, the ebb and flow of the game ruined the game. It certainly has not interrupted this game. Excellent point.
Crozier trying to work pick and roll. Blue Devils with an excellent show. Crozier on his own. Side of the backboard. Stripped by Langdon is Thomas. Blue Devils coming back the other way. Carrawell. Excellent adjustment in midair. We're tied at 74.
Providence is hanging on for dear life. They are on a life support system. Watch them go back on defense. They have very little legs left.
Crozier. The bank is open for him on Sunday. 19 and playing with 4 fouls. The offensive boards big for Providence. That time they closed down on the smaller Duke 5. With 1 and out in that trip.
From here on out, both point guards must understand that the game is played based on time and score. How much time is left on the clock? What's the score? That will dictate how the game is played from here on out.
Nice lob into Thomas. And an even better pass to Derek Brown. What a read.
Providence is at the top of their game at both ends of the floor. I'm not sure this Providence team can play any better than they're playing right now.
Timeout Duke. You talk about some quality dishes. Take a look at these.
But it's 2 great passes. A nice lob pass with a good lead on it. Good read, no look pass to Derek Brown for the easy basket.
It can't get any better in Charlotte.
They're coming from Japan.
These are the things you need to know with 4:06 remaining. The foul difficulty, Crozier, Murdoch, McLeod out of the game, Wojciechowski having to sit. The timeouts remaining, Duke with a 20 and a full. Providence using theirs, one of them by Gillen prior to a TV timeout zone. He might wish that he had not stemmed that Duke run that cut it to 2 moments ago. Carrawell now on the floor with the loss of Rashawn McLeod. Tim Brando, George Raveling, and when we say happy to be with you, we mean it today.
I'm ecstatic.
Turnover by Duke. Wojo comes up gimpy. Shamgar. Oh, yes, and a foul. God getting it done on Sunday.
Tim, I clearly understand now why Providence coach Pete Gillen said that Derek Brown is their MVP. He's just tearing them up. Shamgar on the circus-like move to the basket. And what made that basket was that Shamgar drew contact and was able to score after the contact.
Wojciechowski still not at 100%, but you know that this young man will gut it out. Capel now moves to the point for him and works on Shamgar.
When you play on the playgrounds in New York, you welcome contact. You can't get on if you can't accept contact.
Capel picking up the foul as he takes it into the lane.
Here we sit with 3:31 to go, and Pete Gillen has no timeouts left. It really places him at an at-risk position as he tries to administer the remaining 3:31 of this game.
Shamgod got the foul, his fourth, with 3:31 to play.
Well, we pointed out that Duke had a run, cut a 7-point lead to 2. He felt he needed to stop the run, do a little damage control, but in so doing, perhaps not realizing the next dead ball was a TV timeout. You know he'd love to have that right here.
That's the responsibility of his assistant coaches. They should be on top of that and communicate with Pete and tell him those type of things.
7-0 run for Providence comes to a halt after the free throw. Brown quickly to Thomas. They are just so quick. 17 for Jamel Thomas. 29 for Derek Brown. Langdon leans in. Loose ball, Thomas clears.
This is a great opportunity for Providence to get some rest on offense. You get 4 or 5 passes and rest your legs a little bit. Don't rush. You've got a substantial lead here. They've got to come to you.
Dillon won't have to worry about the timeout story if this run continues, and it does. Tying a career high. Brown has 29 points. He's 2 shy of a career high. Carrawell. Timeout, Duke, a 20-second timeout.
What's happening now is that Providence has such great spacing in their offense that they're creating gaps. Now here's the kick out. They catch Duke's defense in transition. Nice cross-court pass. Duke is slow getting back on defense. As he lays the ball up, one Duke defender's still not across half court.
That happened in 2 sequences back-to-back, and that's just a rarity for Mike Krzyzewski coach club.
Well, neither team has a real deep bench, and at this late stage of the game, both teams are playing with heavy legs.
A number 2 seed really up against it now against 10th seeded Providence. Shamgod runs right into Langdon, trying to induce a 5th foul. Brown out to Crozier. Rice with the rebound for the Blue Devils.
One thing I really respect about Providence is they're playing to win. They're not playing to keep from getting beat.
Carrawell. Nice scoop to the hoop by Chris, the freshman from St. Louis, getting an indoctrination today. 85-79.
So often in a situation like this, there's a temptation to play to keep from getting beat. Providence is maintaining its aggressive offensive posture.
They have the entire game with Shamgod and Crozier in foul difficulty.
Well, they're going to get a few touches here. They can afford to take a little time off the clock now.
Look at that pass to Corey Wright. And upon getting it back, the foul against Langdon.
Tim, have you seen a team that passes the ball better in the interior than this Providence team?
Well, you know, Crozier, I think, helps make it happen. He sees over so much.
Yeah, because of his size, and Duke is trapping Crozier with 6'4" players, and he's 6'9". He can see right over the trap, and he sees the open man, and he gets the ball to him.
Wright with 4 points. That really not indicative, though, of how much he's meant to this team today. When you think about it, the ability to get him in to help dodge Shamgod when he got the early foul trouble really benefiting this team, as it did against Marquette. Now, Crozier leads with 4, and Murdoch comes in again, a defensive for offensive substitution.
Well, if you could give 2 awards to the Providence team for MVP, certainly Derek Brown would get one, but this little youngster here on the line, Corey Wright, certainly would be a strong consideration for his 2nd award.
The lead back to 8. 90 seconds and counting for Duke. Capel. Timeout, Blue Devils. 87-81, a 2-possession game when we return to Charlotte. Player of the game for each team. To date, Chevrolet contributed almost $6.5 million to scholarship funds of America's colleges and universities. Minute 20. Timeouts have been exhausted for both teams.
And I hope both coaches reminded their players that they have no timeouts left.
That's one way of stopping the clock. Not allowing Brown to get to the line. Capel picks up the foul, his fourth. What a performance we've seen by both teams today. Brown having a real coming out party, just 2 points shy of his career high. The offensive board's really the key to this game, and the turnovers that Duke created allowed them the opportunity to get out to a quick start. And all of that negated by Providence's superior play in the low post.
And also it's outstanding defense. I honestly believe that despite the fact that they've done a great job offensively, their offense is fed off of their defense.
This is for a career-high 31 for Brown, tying a previous high.
Tim, we expected Crozier, but we didn't expect Brown to step up this big.
Wojciechowski. Farewell. And Crozier. Maybe with closure in that possession. This is a team that took extreme criticism, the Providence Friars, from many of their fans in Rhode Island. Expected to win the Big East, coming away at only 10-8, trying to live up to expectations set 10 years ago. We mentioned it the other night. Truly, Pete Gillen, with that first tournament win since Pitino's run in '87, exercising a ghost of Christmas past.
Tim, the day before Providence's first game, as we rode over in the car, I said to you, I said, Brando, I think that Providence is going to play very well here because they're away from New York, they're away from Providence, they're away from the hanger-ons and the negative comments.
Pete Gillen had the one-liners yesterday. He got the three-point shots today. This equals the largest lead for Providence at 10, 91-81. With only a minute remaining, and Duke cannot stop the clock.
Nice defensive wrinkle by Pete Gillen not to allow Duke to walk into his offense, a speed dribble into his offense.
Further proof of the rebounding pluses for Providence. Brown, an exclamation point. He's in the 1,000-point club because of today's performance. He has a career high off today's performance, and now a chance to settle into the Sweet 16. No stop in Duke, though.
The problem for Mike Krzyzewski and Duke is they're out of timeout, so they cannot stop the clock. They're at the mercy of the ebb and flow of the game.
And Hightower now getting involved. He nearly teed Jamel Thomas. In fact, he was poised to deliver a technical foul.
And he should have. He should have. At this point in the game, accept your victory in a graceful manner.
And Mike Krzyzewski's really a little upset that Ed didn't blow the whistle. And truly, he was poised. I mean, he was in a technical position, and yet did not blow the whistle. Hoping that cooler heads may prevail. '85-87. Blue Devils trailing. As you look at our Chevrolet players of the game, Derek Brown, a double-double, and Jeff Capel doing all that he could for his team as he now leaves the game. On the floor where he played his final game as a freshman, he'll play his final game as a senior. And there's his proud father,
Jeff Capel Sr. Jeff Capel Sr. is the head basketball coach at Old Dominion. He's taken his team to 4 of the last 5 NCAA tournaments. And that's with 3 different teams. Old Dominion might have a hard time keeping him there.
Nate James will check into the game with 25.7 remaining.
What a way to get it started. We've got a full day, and as was the case on Saturday with 3 one-point games coming down the stretch, one of them going into overtime. Excitement, and the second number 2 seed to fall in the NCAA tournament, the other being South Carolina. It's on to Birmingham for the Friars, where Rick Pitino beat not only Alabama, but Georgetown in 1987 to take the Friars to the Final Four in New Orleans that year. Well, you think of all of the great moments for Providence in their history, most of them from Ernie D. and Marvin Barnes, Dave Gavitt. 25 years ago, they won here and went on to the Final Four with that team. Shamgar. Crozier brings it down. Boy, did he play within himself with foul trouble today.
He exhibited unusual mental discipline.
The Friars have their ticket punched for Birmingham.
The Big East will have a participant in the Sweet 16 yet again. They have had one since 1993, at least one every year since then, and the Friars get it done for them today.
98-87, our final score. For George Raveling, Tim Brando saying so long from Charlotte. Coming up, we'll take you back to our New York studios, Pat O'Brien and Special K, White Kellogg.
Sweet 16! Yeah, boy!
For their entire
jumpstart, and we've been reaping benefits athletically ever since.
PC also has benefited academically. Applications rose 25% in 1988, and the candidates now are not only from around the country, but from all over the world. Many students say they applied partly because of the basketball success.
And my dad was like, we want you to go to Providence, or because he loves basketball, you know, so it was kind of the motivating factor for us.
So I decided, you know, there's a big-time basketball program here, so get to go to the Big East games.
Success on the court also helps the college's bank account. This year, PC could win hundreds of thousands of dollars in the tournament, and alumni donations are expected to climb.
When things like this happen, you know, the pockets get a little shorter, and the people who haven't given are more apt to give.
And all that means success for PC. Laura Slick, ABC 6 News.
Cats and Duke last weekend. Now, Friday night, the Friars take on another underdog team that gets no respect in Tennessee Chattanooga. The Friars will be in an unfamiliar role as going in the favorite.
Frankly, UT Chattanooga does not know much about Providence. They probably don't even know what state we're in, frankly. You know, you ask them quick, Providence, they'll say Connecticut. That's it. They won't know. And frankly, we don't know. Our players don't know a lot about them. So it's kind of the unknown. Kind of like to be and not to be, right? That's the question. That's why Hamlet didn't kill himself, because he didn't know what was going to happen. Well, I might kill myself with a bare botkin if we don't play well Friday night. But the unknown, that's what's interesting and scary and also exciting.
Yes, it was a real roller coaster ride for the team with real highs and some deep lows. Gillen and the players have some interesting comments about team chemistry coming up right after John does the weather.
And Friars have overcome their problems. Next.
Chattanooga does not know much about Providence. They probably don't even know what state we're in, frankly. You know, you ask them quick, Providence, they'll say Connecticut. That's it. They won't know. And frankly, we don't know. Our players don't know a lot about them. So it's kind of the unknown. Kind of like to be and not to be, right? That's the question. That's why Hamlet didn't kill himself, because he didn't know what was going to happen. Well, I might kill myself with a bare botkin if we don't play well Friday night.
Pete knows his Shakespeare, and you should know that the game time is 10:25 Friday night, right here on Channel 12. Kansas and Arizona go at 7:55. Here at Channel 12.
Finding team harmony, a very difficult task. In the postseason, this team, and more specifically the coach, have paid their dues. Blending a melting pot of players from east and west, from the inner city, from Africa and Panama has been no easy task.
I have to coach attitude every day. Somebody's going off the high board. I got to say, all right, stop. There's no water in the pool. Get down. You can't jump off the high board. mean, our guys make coffee nervous.
Gillen says there were even problems in the midst of last weekend's joy after upset wins.
Over the weekend, we had something guys didn't think they were getting the ball, so we had a strike. We had a food strike. Guys wouldn't eat lunch. They only drank water at meals. So my biggest trouble is making sure everybody's together. And I'm not exaggerating. It's a true story. And we had problems.
The players have heard one message from Gillen over and over and over.
I remember hearing the word selfishness and unselfish, him preaching unselfishness, and always talking about situations where you're selfish. And it got to the point where you would hear that word and it would just give you a headache. He would preach that, that's the worst thing you can be in your life is to be a selfish person. And, you really start to believe it, seeing, how successful we are now.
We like each other, be around each other enough. We live next door to each other, mostly everybody in the dorms. So I just feel that, when we lose, things just don't go right, and people can't accept that. We don't make excuses, and, it seems like everybody else makes excuses for us.
Shamgod admits to a little culture shock after coming to Providence. PC is light years away from the inner city in New York, where he grew up.
Like the things I've been in the paper for this year, last year, I know the years to come it will never happen again, because I'm more aware, and it just teach me things I guess I need to learn when I was in high school that I haven't been exposed to. And right now it's just like, everything is going good, and I'm just happy, and I feel I'm growing as a person and a player.
Isn't that the purpose for college, revealing stuff? The Friars will have to play together Friday to beat Chattanooga of Tennessee and advance to the Grade 8. Game time about 10:15 in Birmingham.